An error occurred. Go live. Let's try again. I wonder if I'm live on YouTube at this point. I believe I am. Folks, technical is my life. Let me start with hey, greetings, fellow classic TV fans, and welcome to the Golden Age of TV Live, where we tonight are talking about Star Trek, the original series. I am excited about this one because I have a couple of my really good friends in the wings waiting to join me. We'll be talking about this show that actually started my entire love for classic TV, which was, of course, Star Trek. I had a whole monologue, an intro planned for this, which was I'm going to talk about this and that. And as I was taking a walk today, I thought, wouldn't it be great if Gene Roddenberry's vision was actually happening right about now? I mean, I think you would all agree this would be the time for it. And maybe in an optimist's point of view, it is. And maybe it is going to happen. But Roddenberry had it right. He had it all figured out where all the nations of the world were one and for one purpose, trying to better itself. So maybe this is the beginning of Gene's vision. I should hope so. So, yes, Star Trek got it all started for me. And unfortunately, I'm not a big fan. I mean, it was like, what kind of Trekker? Well, I'm not actually sure which I am. I'm going to say Trekkie because I'm from the baby boomer era. And, it's amazing what that show did for influencing science fiction on top of classic TV. I think that most people would agree that Star Trek was the trailblazer for science fiction TV. Some would say maybe The Outer Limits or The Twilight Zone, and I would agree, but there was something about that show that just popped, for lack of a better term. And so it was the good stuff. The good stuff. That reminds me. I have somebody. That's right. My first guest and friend of many months, Mr. Dave Sundstrom. Please, Dave, join me. There you are. Whoa, I got a third guy. Who is that guy? Ah, yes. And your mics are muted. Let's unmute these mics. There we go. There we go. I just muted you again, Barry. Folks, this is Dave Sundstrom. To my left, right. And down here we have Mr. Barry King from B.K. on the Air. This has gone kind of bizarre with my opening because I wasn't exactly planning on it being like that. But here we go, guys. Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you, Barry.
Yes.
Dave.
See, loud and clear, my friend. Loud and clear.
So Dave's like, go ahead and ask me something, will you? Well, first, Dave, I got to say congratulations. 125,000 subscribers this week. Is that what you hit?
Yeah. We've hit the 125,000 mark. So it, you know what? It just defies explanation. Who would have thunk? I throw some pictures in a PowerPoint and talk over top of them that people would actually enjoy the videos. But I certainly enjoy making them. So as long as people continue to watch them and subscribe, I'm going to do that. So thanks for the congratulations.
Listen, if nobody's actually seen what Dave does, you got to get in there because he just puts you on that couch in the living room where you can just lay out and enjoy what he does. He's an online easy chair. That's what you are, Dave. you really are.
Well, you know what? I've never been described that way before, Pat, but I love it. I
That was off the
absolutely love it. An
that was off the
online
cuffs.
easy chair, a lazy boy. Yeah, I
I
love
didn't.
it.
And speaking of online or on the radio easy
Speaking of
chair,
lazy boy,
this guy. No, that guy. It's funny, you don't look like your cartoon, Dave. But I have been friends with Barry King for years, and
yes,
not once actually seen him physically talk.
right. Well, we are in the same, all in the same virtual room right now, so we can't really touch or anything, but we're sort of seeing each other, and that's kind of cool.
Well, let me just say I'm pleasantly surprised because you are very handsome, almost as handsome as Dave.
What?
Yeah, well, in a strictly hetero kind of way, Dave. I mean, Barry.
I
Yeah,
thought Barry was closer to our age, Pat, but clearly this guy's in his 40s.
he's a kid. He's a
Hey, honey.
kid.
Honey, come in here and listen to this. You're not going to believe it.
I don't even know where he gets off talking about nostalgia. Clearly, this guy isn't from our age.
Wow,
Well,
guys, I just had a birthday last month, so yeah, I just
he turned 42.
yeah.
Barry, when did you start in radio, and what gave you the bug to do this?
Wow, what starting radio. Well, I many years ago I was a kid and I received a small little red Panasonic cassette tape recorder, back in the day when we could get those, and it was just battery powered only. And I would record on this thing and do my own little show, when I was in elementary school into junior high. And later on, I eventually got exposed to WKRP in Cincinnati on CBS television, which I loved. It was a great show. And I was thinking, man, wouldn't it be nice to work for a radio station where all those people are there, all those personalities? And flash forward many years later after career changes and things. But right out of high school, I started a small station in Northeast Alabama, a little AM station there, and learned the ropes, began emptying trash cans first, just bugging the hell out of them for a job. And finally got a job there at WAGC AM 1560, which has long been gone now. But eventually, a few recordings here and there, and a stint at the Birmingham Performance Academy in Birmingham, Alabama, for some voice training and some acting tips and things. It was kind of like a technical school. I wound up in Georgia, just north of Atlanta suburbs, and started working for WYXC Radio back about 6 or 7 years ago, pretty regularly. And that station went out of business, unfortunately, went under and went dark. I'm really scared to go work for radio stations now because I seem to close them down. They hire me and they close, and I don't know if that's connected to me or what. So, but right now I've been on WBHF radio for the past going on 4 years now. One of the oldest radio stations in America, WBHF. This station has been on the air constantly since 1946.
Holy smokes.
So I'm proud to do it. And that's a little Reader's Digest of me and how I got started in radio. I just always loved it, and I've finally got the chance to do it.
Hey, Barry, yours was red. Mine was blue. I had that
a blue
tape recorder. Yeah.
Great. They were great. I loved it.
They were so cool. A little spacey looking too, weren't they?
They were, with a little handle on the end, and
Mm-hmm.
and the black cover that closed over the cassette. What's it? Dave knows.
Oh yeah.
It's great.
We're three peas in a pod here, obviously, but
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Barry, I love your radio show. I don't know why. It's just like that. It's this something about the first segment after the first break that's just so awesome.
Yeah, there is someone there in that segment after the first commercial break. He's a guy who I think has the happiest smiling voice I've ever heard. When this guy talks, you can tell that even if he's not smiling, it sounds like he's smiling when he speaks.
Yeah, of course, you guys think I'm smiling, but really it's greetings, fellow classic TV fans.
So you're smiling right now.
I am, very much so. Very much so. Well, listen. Oh, I don't want to do that. Buttons. Yes, Dave, push the buttons for me.
Shall do.
Thank you. I know there's a lot of you in the chat room right now. It's great that Dave, you brought all your followers here, because I have a few too, but most of them, we share. And Barry, I want them to know, I want everybody that's watching to know how great BK on the Air is. It's Saturday mornings, 7 a.m. And it's just, what's the word when it's just perfect every time? Is there a word for that?
A fluke.
Yeah. But I was going to say,
No.
but enough about your co-host.
Right. Enough about Alan Sanders. Yeah, that's right.
Here's the deal. One thing that I've got to say about BK on the Air, which is I rarely catch him live. And I know that's probably your preferred medium, Barry, but what I love is the fact that you repackage that thing.
Right.
It becomes bionic and it goes out in podcast form. And oh my goodness, you take those live radio broadcasts and make them something really special. You know, I'm a guy that loves the old timey commercials, and you've got Queen in there interspersed between your news flashes, doing the whole flash thing.
Yeah.
It's just great. So folks, don't think that if you miss him on Saturday mornings, you
Right.
can't catch BK on the Air, because he's also, all you have to do is go to iTunes or Google Podcasts or anywhere else, and you can just add him to your stream.
Exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, all three of us together, we do things a little differently, but all three of us get the end result about what we're passionate about and talking about. That's what links all of us guys together. And I'm very happy and honored to call you guys my nostalgic retro buddies. This is the way it is.
And isn't this crazy? I mean, I think of it as crazy. I shouldn't, that we've never met in person. And yet we've known each other for years. And I mean, thank you, Internet. But I
Yes.
can't wait to bear hug these guys, actually. I'll be honest. It's going to happen. And I think something about pie and coffee will be included.
Oh, yeah.
Barry's told me many a time.
Probably more than one piece of pie. Yeah, probably 2 or 3 in my case.
Oh, but of course. So I happen to know you guys are both Trekkies. Can I say Trekkie?
I prefer Trekkie.
Well, you know, there was always that controversy over the press coining the phrase Trekkie. But I think now if someone says Trekkie or Trekker, as they like to be called, I think it's fine either way, because you're a Star Trek fan. So that's really the bottom line there. Yes.
I'm not the same. I have total prejudice against Trekkers because that just doesn't make sense whatsoever. It began with Trekkies and it will end with Trekkies. I am a Trekkie. and Barry, I know you were too, because the very first thing you hear when your show kicks off is Captain Kirk. Stand by to receive our transmission, right? That's it.
Right. Great line from The Wrath of Khan when he's about to throw it back at Khan. It's just a good way to open the radio show, because it's like, oh, the transmission's coming. Here it comes. So that's what I use. Star Trek's been a part of my life for almost as long as I can remember, because I try to think back of a time where I didn't know about Star Trek. And there was a time when I was a much younger child, but it's hard to think that far back, because my first exposure to Star Trek was in 1974 with the Filmation produced animated series on NBC. And I thought it was great. I got so hooked into this show. I thought it was fantastic. The characters, the writing, the ship, all the transporter, everything they had. So I was a big Star Trek fan in 1974. Little did I know that the show, I discovered a show in syndication on local radio TV stations here growing up in the Southeast that carried a show that looked like that show that I watched, that cartoon show, only had real guys in it. You know, they had the same voices and everything. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then, you know, someone explained to me, this is the real show. They made an animated show out of it. So I was just excited. I loved it from day one, and then went right into the live action series right after I saw the animated show.
Dave, what was your first experience with Star Trek?
The reverse. I definitely caught the live action version in syndication. I don't remember it being on prime time, but in syndication prior to the Saturday morning version. But I do remember I had, you know, it was pre-internet. Things surprised you. I remember the Saturday morning preview show on NBC the night before the new Saturday morning cartoons were going to air for the 73, 74 cartoon season, hosted by Jimmy Osmond. Still remember that. And I think new shows that year were Land of the Lost, and trying to remember, Run Joe Run might have been new that year as well. But little did I know that there was the preview for Star Trek. And I was so psyched because I love Star Trek. I was one of those weird little nerd kids that would play. Everybody else would go out and play baseball and football during recess, and I was over there pretending to be Captain Kirk and trying to recruit one or two other weird outcast kids to play with me. And so I was just ecstatic that new episodes of Star Trek were going to be, even if it was in animated form, on Saturday mornings. But definitely saw the live action version first.
Yeah. And my earliest recollection of Star Trek, I had to see it in first run because I was living in a certain residence where I know I was only in kindergarten. And what I remember, being the timid type, was that Spock scared the heck out of me. Yikes, I can't watch this. But what was very interesting to me, and actually this kind of carried over into my later years, was which dot is that Enterprise in the beginning before it comes flying past the screen like that? Because there's all these dots, right? There's all these stars, and one of them is the Enterprise. Your job, find it. And I would be like, up to the TV, it's like, it's that one. It isn't that one. Okay, it's that one. Oh, it isn't that one. It's that one. So that continued on for decades before I realized finally that they were traveling at light speed. There would be no possibility of me figuring out what it was. But I finally did the math at that point. But of course, it was later that I hit upon a certain episode that really just, I was like, what is this? It was this one, not Star Trek, but as you can see what it is, right? Yes.
Oh yeah.
It is the shore leave episodes. And I saw a little bit of that. And then I saw all of it. And when I saw all of it, I was blown away at how creative these storylines were. It just took me to another place, and as did all of them. And thus I became a total Trekkie, but it didn't do just that. It turned me into a classic TV enthusiast. And, Barry, I wanted to say something to you. One of the sound bites that's on your show that Alan says is, Barry is the guy, or I don't remember how it goes. BK is the only guy that actually thought William Shatner should have won an Oscar for his role. Right? Okay.
Yes, that's one of the self-degrading bits that comes back from a commercial when we come back and he says that. Yeah. Now back to a guy who thinks William Shatner should have won an Academy Award. Here he is, BK on the air.
Right. And this is how I knew you and I were going to be brothers forever, because I actually told William Shatner that.
Oh, you did? Really?
In front of a whole auditorium of hundreds and hundreds of fans. I had gold circle seat. I was dead front, and he said, and I'm like, and I went, you should have won an Academy Award. And his response was, as he gets in the mic, because nobody can hear me, he's like, he thinks that I should have won an Oscar for my performance as Captain Kirk on television. Oh, and it was at that moment I went, oh, wait a minute. I suppose they don't give out those Oscars for TV. and that's an honest to God that happened. And I thought, boy, we must both think exactly the same thing all the time.
Well, he did win an Emmy for Boston Legal, so there you go. That was nice. So
it was just that I said Oscar, and when I heard Alan say that, I went, that is just too creepy. But know this: as a Star Trek fan, I have accumulated many episodes on Retro TV Trivia, Golden Rage of TV, and one of them actually gives you my rundown of my favorites. So before I ask you guys your favorites, let me indulge myself. Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. My passion for classic TV began with Star Trek. I remember seeing it when it originally aired, but as a 5-year-old kid, I thought Spock was way too scary. But thanks to reruns, I rediscovered the show and its many undeniable qualities. As a Trekkie, here I put together the top 5 list of my all-time favorite episodes. Number 5 is The Enemy Within. This classic Jekyll and Hyde story, or good versus evil, was brilliant by incorporating the moral lesson that courage actually resided on the good side. Number 4 was Amok Time. The set created for Vulcan with its red sky was amazing for a TV show, and this one demonstrated the real camaraderie between the 3 main characters of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. At number 3, it's The Apple, a planet of innocent, attractive slaves, including one David Soul, with plenty of explosions, over-the-top special effects, and a big rock shaped like a monster head. What more could you want? Number 2 is Shore Leave. The high-budget, on-location look, along with a wild story about anything you think of suddenly becomes real, is a total fan favorite. However, my number 1 favorite may surprise you. It's The Squire of Gothas. Actor Bill Campbell as Trelane gave an incredible performance. The storyline was fantastic, especially since you didn't know he was just a spoiled little kid all along. I thought all 79 episodes of Star Trek were great, but these I felt were the best. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Now, you don't have to let me know if you agree or disagree, because I really don't care. We know what our favorites were, and I got to ask you, Dave, what was your favorite episode?
I got to give you 3. We can't just whittle it down to so anything with Harcourt Fenton Mudd in it is one of my favorites. I probably Mudd's Women. I think that's when he showed up first. And by the way, there was an animated episode with Mudd in it too, which was awesome.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for City on the Edge of Forever. Huge Joan Collins fan, thought she was amazing in that episode. Some of Shatner's best work, definitely Oscar worthy. And lastly, there's an episode, 3rd season. A lot of folks don't point to 3rd season episodes very much, but there's one called A Wink of the Eye or something like that, where they just disappear for some reason. Some of the characters disappear, and I really like that episode. I think it's probably because do you remember the James Blish novelizations of Trek? There used to be paperback books.
Great covers.
Very first, I think one of my very first paperback novels I ever bought was Star Trek 11, which had the novelization or the story version of that, and just ate it up. And so I love that episode too, probably for personal reasons. Maybe not one of its best, but I love it.
And thanks to James Blish for great adaptations of those. Of those
fantastic, and Alan Dean Foster for adapting the animated series.
Oh yeah,
boy, you name droppers. That's awesome. I was like, well, he said 3rd season, and for me, Requiem for Methuselah. Now, when Jim Kirk was devastated at the end of that show from a broken heart, and Spock just kind of reaches in and mind melds him without him knowing it. And what were his words? Forget.
Yeah.
Forget.
Kind of the opposite of remember. Yeah.
That, I mean, again, the show just floored me, let alone the colors on the thing. I mean, it's just, I watched it just to get a color fix because the way the sets were set up. I mean, it was a masterpiece. Barry, I'm going to ask you, but I think I may know. But tell us anyway, what was your favorite episode?
Well, out of all 79 episodes of Star Trek, you said it earlier, Pat, there's some, even at their worst, which a lot of people have their stinker episodes, even at their worst, the Star Trek was really great. I mean, it was good. Even at their worst screenplays they had, it was still a dramatic television series set in space. But my absolute favorite episode of Star Trek for me was always the Doomsday Machine from season 2, because I know we'll get to our favorite guest stars probably later too.
Well, I'm going to throw this up anyway. So there you go.
He's a great guest star. He's a big giant robot. He's a great one. Yeah. What a great drama. What a great story by Norman Spinrad. What a great.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you've got this giant thing, and I mean, it could mirror anything that would get out of control that was built for war. Talking about an interesting, poignant story. We've got this war machine that's a robot that destroys planets, and it's programmed to do so from some galaxy far, far away and some life forms we never met. And now it's out of control. No one can stop it, and it's destroying planets, and we have to stop it and learn something along the way. Fantastic episode. I always, from day one, when I saw the Doomsday Machine, it became my favorite episode. It's really a great hour of drama for television.
It was drama. I remember, oh my gosh, I've lost his name. Barry.
William Wyndham?
Yes, thank you. His character changed like multiple times on that episode from, I don't know what's going on, to, I'm a real jerk, to, I'm going to save the day.
Yeah.
And, and I'll never forget those facial expressions right before he went down the tube.
Oh, yeah. I always thought he was probably a very Kirk-like commander at one point, and something happened. He lost his ship. He lost his crew. He
stopped shaving.
He snapped. Yeah, that's right. And, it could have happened to Kirk or any one of them, but it happened to him. And it was difficult to see him do that. But what a great performance by William Wyndham. It was fantastic.
Right. No, I loved him. And so that kind of brings me to the next question. So it's kind of we went straight to the episodes, but there were guest stars. There were a lot of guest stars on this show. I did this little poll with my fans, which was, who was your favorite classic TV guest star? I don't know why I put classic TV on there, but as you can see, Joan Collins took the cake. And I started thinking today, as I'm putting my stuff together, I went, that story is poignant today because of what she talked about, which was nations coming together for a common goal and maybe explore the stars. Well, she was how many hundreds of years too early?
Yeah. Yes. Very, what, the 23rd century is when Star Trek takes place. So, yeah.
But we need it now, don't you think? I think.
We sure do.
So again, I'm just going to follow that with some pat on your face kind of a thing. Ready? This is what you get when you don't script it, folks. Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. Episode 28 from the first season is often regarded as the crowning achievement for the original Star Trek. 1967's The City on the Edge of Forever was written by Harlan Ellison, with uncredited contributions by D.C. Fontana and Gene L. Kuhn. Ranked in TV Guide's top 100 greatest TV shows of all time, this ultimate sci-fi drama had it all. An accidental drug overdose sends Dr. McCoy into a paranoid frenzy. He then jumps through a time porthole and changes all history. On the incredibly elaborate set, the main characters meet the Guardian of Forever, who is played by voice actor Bartel LaRue. Kirk and Spock have to jump in to go back to 1930s Chicago to save everything ever. Sci-fi fans are then introduced to the stunning Joan Collins, who played gifted visionary Edith Keeler. This episode gained critical acclaim and won a Writers Guild Award, and also a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation. I mean, does that one ever get old?
No,
it doesn't.
Not for me.
I don't know if it was the first four-letter word allowed on television, but it was pretty pushy.
I don't remember one before it.
And I mean, how great that they let that happen as a part of the story. Let's get the hell out of here. And I just thought, wow, if that's not perfect,
yeah,
what is?
And great cameo too in City on the Edge of Forever by the city of Mayberry.
Yes,
Floyd
Barbershop.
Yes,
of several episodes of Star Trek, Mayberry shows up in the background. So yeah.
Dave could share a few facts about that, no doubt.
Absolutely. That's what happens when you share the same production company, right? It was Desilu that they both had produced the first two seasons of Trek, I believe.
What was it, Dave? Was it 30, 40 acres lot? 30, what was the place called?
Yeah, exactly. The 30-acre lot, the 40-acre lot, I can't remember. But
if you would look over to one side in the distance, you'd see Gomer Pyle's barracks. Then you'd have Hogan's Heroes Stalag over on the other side. I mean, if the camera had just moved just a little bit, you would have seen a lot of other shows in the background in that area.
Yeah. I'm currently reading The Boys, Ron Howard's and Clinton Howard's book, and Ron talks about that, the 40-acre lot, or what, I can't remember, it is 30 or 40.
Yeah.
And he talks about how much he loved as a kid when he was working there, going around. He'd get on a bike, one of the Mayberry prop bikes, and just ride around that lot and just go and check out all the different, shows that were currently in production and seeing all the different things that are going on. And he talks about just that he developed that habit as a way of kind of thinking when he was young, doing that on the lot, and something that he continues to do today.
Yeah.
What a great playground that would have been.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
imagine
Right
that?
around it.
Yeah.
And it was. Butch Patrick talked about it. Jerry Mathers talked about it. I mean, just what a great way to grow up,
Oh,
They
yeah.
still got to go to school while they were there, working.
We were out in Hollywood and LA in 2017. We took a vacation out there, and I'd never been there. And I did go by the actual location of where it was, and it's all office buildings
Right.
now. It's kind of
Right.
odd, but it's just interesting to know how much was there before that was built. Got to see a lot of locations while I was out there, including a lot of Star Trek locations. It was fun.
Right. Well, as the host of this live stream, I should probably be paying attention to the comments. And I want to let you guys know I was so excited to have good old BK and Dave on. And it's like, I think I'll take a quick look here. Danny Staten, one of our great friends. And by the way, Barry, you got to follow this guy. You would be entertained. I promise. He is in search of Bigfoot, and he will find him. As a matter of fact, I've seen him on about 20 of his videos. I've seen Bigfoot. So his prized possession is his Star Trek Gold Key comic. And Danny is the comic aficionado. So, check him out. What else we got? Trekker, not Trekkie. What do we got? Alfred says he's a Trekkie. Whereas Hungry Jerk, who we know as Mr. McCleskey, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dave?
Tom McCluskey.
I'll see you soon. He's a Trekker. Whereas Spike Spikerson is a Trek nerd, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Spike's our resident comic. He's always got something funny to say.
Well, and so does this guy.
In
Even though I
true
don't get it.
fashion, right?
I just like, wait, oh, that's it, of course. Oh, man.
Talk in my sleep, even. So, yeah.
Oh, it's so great to hear from you guys. I really appreciate you being here. Now, what's this? Apparently,
I think this comment came in while you were doing your Shatner impersonation, by the way.
I was just going to do it. I was like, I am a barrel. And if I was William Shatner, I'd be even more of a barrel.
Hey, don't knock it. I watched Shatner for years, wishing I could have his body and look like him, and now I do. Great. It's great. I'm so happy.
I'm working on it. Oh, let's see. What else we got? Oh, here we go. This one. Alfred is talking about whom gods destroy and the Savage Curtain. Whom gods destroy, I thought was great. Savage Curtain, I really had to work on. Now, that is the one where they are put at the OK Corral. Is that right? Or no, Savage Curtain is where the Abraham Lincoln.
Right. That's Savage
Curtain. Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I know my stuff. Trust me. I know my stuff. Thank you. Yes. That was the scotch. And there's the soda.
Ooh.
Sorry, and brandy. Give me the brandy, right?
Romeo nail in the coffee. So
that was it. I remember it was like, give me the brandy. Oh boy, that dude was scary. Boy, he must have had fun playing that one. He just must have. One of the other ones that I thought was really great was The Ultimate Computer. If you guys remember that, where it became autonomous warfare. and just how deep that thing went. Well, let's have this guy tell you about it.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. It looks like science fiction may become science fact when it comes to autonomous vehicles. Ominous tales of artificial intelligence were popular on Star Trek. The 53rd episode in 1968, titled The Ultimate Computer, was no exception. The DC Fontana script, like many Star Trek episodes, had a thinly veiled social statement, this one touching on job losses due to mechanization. Dr. Richard Daystrom, played by actor William Marshall, created the M5. This ultimate computer was to take over many of the humanized tasks on the ship, only more quickly and more efficiently. But he didn't divulge that it was infused with a human mind. His only problem? He was deranged. The M5, of course, malfunctions, thus using the Enterprise to destroy other ships and crew members during mock war games. Fortunately, Kirk had experience at talking computers to death, as seen in the episodes The Changeling and Return of the Archons. A disappointed Spock then summarizes that even though computers are more efficient than humans, they're not better. I hope he was right. Safe driving, everyone.
Yes. No, we have not bought that Tesla yet, just because of that episode. Uh-huh.
Another great guest star, William Marshall. What an appearance for as Daystrom on that one. You really felt for him. You really did.
Star Trek was a masterpiece, and I'm talking about the original one. Fact is, I'm a fan of all of it. I definitely was a fan of The Next Generation, and who wouldn't be? Matter of fact, what do I have here? I've got to show you guys this one.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look at that.
That's an awesome picture. Who's the guy in the red shirt, though? I don't recognize him.
Denise Crosby, when I walked in, her first response was, "Underdog!" And she just was so sweet. The rest of them were great. That night, my wife and I were at a restaurant. This was a convention, and Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner and Gates McFadden, they all walked by, and I yelled out, "I work with your wife." I don't know why I said that, because his wife is Jeannie Francis, of course, from General Hospital.
Yeah.
I was on General Hospital and she was Laura, but it stopped him, and he said, "You did what with my wife?" And then I said, "Wally Kurth," right? My old bandmate from General Hospital. And he was like, "Waldo." And he sat down and talked to us.
Wow.
For about 10 minutes. And when he got up and left, this is how my wife knew I was just gone. I was a total Trekkie. She already knew that, but this was a perfect example because I broke into tears.
Oh, no.
I was just like, I don't believe it. All I could hear in my head was, "Mr. Worf, fire." While he was talking, that's all I could hear in my head. But he was so sweet. And again, most of these cats are just very, very kind to their fans. I got to meet Nichelle Nichols not too long ago, it was a while ago, but she was sweet as could be. And just about everybody that I've come into contact from that show really appreciates, I think in Gene's vision, they're all together under this one umbrella of Roddenberry's imagination, which was so positive and so creative that, it's just amazing. I am a total Trekkie. I know you guys are too.
I was lucky enough to meet every Star Trek cast member over the past many years doing what I do, except one. I never got to meet DeForest Kelley. That's the one that I did not get to meet, the one I would love to have met. And every single one of them to me was cordial, nice, friendly, not a cross thing to say. I guess I caught them on a good day because some of them had bad days, but not a bad word from any one of them. And the most friendly one I ever met was William Shatner. He was the most friendly one that I did meet. So it was really nice to be able to do that. Very lucky.
Yeah. I could not help but not speak directly to him when I met him. I had to engage.
I thought he was fearing for your safety because you were in the room with him with a red shirt on.
Yeah. Well, this was a convention before the convention. If you've never seen William Shatner do his live shtick, folks, you don't know what you're missing. The man has a sense of humor unlike anything spontaneous sense of humor that I've ever seen. Dave, have you ever been to any of the conventions with these cats?
I haven't. I've never met a member of the Star Trek cast, but I'm really surprised. It shocks me that I thought Shatner would be really reserved up in front of people.
No, very friendly. And such a, I get it, but such a comedian, a comedian. I recall this one situation. My kids were there, my wife was there, and it was like, I don't know why they were there, but they were there. And he was answering questions from people that would come up to a mic and fire off questions. And this guy came up to him and just basically asked him every ridiculous question you can imagine. And he was just like, kind of batting them off. All of them were great answers. But then the guy was like, just out of the blue, after Bill had obviously had enough, he said, do you know any magic? Just that. Do you know any magic? And he looks at him straight and goes, yeah, you want to see me disappear? It was like, you want to see me disappear? The place came unglued. That was Shatner. He just had that spontaneity.
Can we talk about his age just for a second? Because we all know how old William Shatner is, but he does not act his age. He does not. I cannot accept his age, because somebody reaches, they get into their 90s and, they start to get kind of, you see actors do that and they get kind of feeble, older, like we're all going to get eventually one day. And Bill Shatner does not seem like an old guy. He still does not seem old to me,
I think he's got a picture in a closet somewhere,
in the attic.
Right. Right. Along with his row of toupees.
Could be. You could be right.
And baseball hats, it's like, well, this one I'll wear to space today, and actually get on a rocket and go to space. Yeah,
and that was amazing.
Exactly.
That was amazing.
His
emotional reaction when he come back just kind of said it all on video. It was great.
It was the only time I ever saw him speechless. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because he could do it. I mean, that guy he's an entertainer, no doubt about it. And his sense of humor is just A1 in my book.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's see what else folks are saying here. I'm going to see if I'm going to not repeat any of these cats. Here we go. Let's get this one. Which generation of Star Trek is your guys' favorite? So when we say generation, we're talking about the original or the next generation. And I like that question because for me, it's kind of equally split, because the next generation was so great. I wasn't really going to go to the next generation because this is all about the original, which to me is the best, but they really picked up the ball and ran with it, in my opinion. And it grew. And of course, obviously, because they made actual feature films like the original series. But I don't know, Dave, did you have a favorite compared
I didn't
to the
want
two?
to like Next Generation. I really did not want to like Next Generation. I was such just Trek fan and the original cast. And then I remember hearing about this new version of Trek that Paramount was trying to launch a fourth network, or I can't remember. And when it aired, I went into it extremely skeptical, but they kind of had me from episode 1 with Q, and I was just blown away. And I was an avid watcher. Now, that doesn't mean that it's my favorite. It's kind of like asking someone to pick which of your children is favorite, right? Because they're both so great and so wonderful, and there's differences. Always from a nostalgic point of view, the original series will be my favorite.
Yeah. How about you, Barry?
Exactly what Dave said. The original crew for me, Shatner, Nimoy, DeForest Kelly, they're the guys that started it all, and they're always been my favorite. The next generation did come along, and I'll echo Dave's words again. I was skeptical too. I said, well, Star Trek The Next Generation, what is this? So I started watching it. I didn't really catch on to that show and really get into it till about season 3. I think in season 3, they really hit their stride and became their own show at that point and tried to get away from the shadow of the old show. But if I had to put them in order, my favorite Star Trek crew is the original, but my next favorite is Enterprise with Scott Bakula. And that's a lot of people's least favorite. But when Enterprise came out, I thought it was a throwback to, the grit, the grit, dirt under the fingernails. We got to figure out how to make the ship work. We got profanity on the show. We're humankind just getting out into the galaxy. So I give kudos to Enterprise being a really great, actually my second favorite Star Trek generation crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Discovery's great too. I'm still, maybe just call me old school. I love the original. Part of the loving that original was the use of color, the set designs, the amount of work that had to go into making these weekly shows was, well, it's obvious it was monumental. And I love color. As you can see, I'm kind of a color coordinated thing here. But it was just the way the lighting, the shadows, the cinematography aspect of the show was so far superior. It was just so far ahead of its time. I don't think they've actually been able to emulate that with any of the newer versions. It just doesn't have that vibe. I mean, would you guys agree?
Very much so. Dave, or somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. Jerry Finneman was one of their main cameramen on Star Trek, and I'm with Pat. Along with the, you'd get the shot of the ladies and the soft Vaseline lenses on the show, and, and then you'd have Kirk or someone their eyes were lit up like this. There's just a quarter of light on their eyes. May seem hokey now, but at the time and when I watch it, it's very artistic and very It's fascinating looking. It's fascinating.
Yeah, here's the thing about the original Trek. It's like, if you look at it, I mean, you got this. We've talked about the cast, we've talked about the guest stars. Now we're talking about, all the people that were working behind the scenes. If you look at the people that wrote the stories, the story, everything, this is just lightning in a bottle. I don't know. As you look at that, just how incredible was it that kind of magic happened for 3 seasons? Almost only 2, but fortunately we got a 3rd season.
And it took a while for people to get it. Kind of a not very big ratings winner when it was on originally. It took syndication in the 70s to do that.
For many shows, as we all know, but it was that they just didn't know what they had when they had it. Even the stars didn't know. They were clueless as to just how trailblazing this whole thing was. And thankfully, with the letter writing campaigns, we got that 3rd seasons. But even then, they went through the whole animated, series. Just like, it's a cartoon. It's work.
We even got a letter writing campaign to change the first glider space shuttle to Enterprise. That's the power of that show.
That's
1976. Yeah.
Well, it exploded. Really, I mean, the most successful entertainment franchise of all time. In my book, I'm saying that. I think that's documented.
What is it about some television that and I'll compare it to another show here, just if you'll see where I'm going with this. The Zucker brothers with Leslie Nielsen did a television series called Police Squad.
Oh yeah.
And didn't make it on television. Couldn't find an audience. No one understood that. They didn't get that. Oh, I guess it's kind of like an airplane comedy, but we're not really ready for that. The moment they make motion pictures out of it in the theater, it takes off with sequels. So I don't know why people don't get things at first and it becomes popular later, but it happens to a lot of productions.
Yeah, I think part of it is I blame the network executives themselves, and I'm going to try to avoid a rant here.
You go, Dave.
But I don't believe. I think it takes a motion picture has such a massive marketing campaign behind it that sometimes people find it almost immediately. But with television, particularly back in the 70s and 80s, there was. It took a while, and probably even more so today with the amount of choice that's out there. It takes a while for a show to get a foothold. And if I remember right, with Police Squad, Naked Gun movies, but Police Squad, those things, we got what, half a season? I don't even know if we got a full season before the network decided it wasn't worthy of their airtime. And And for that very reason, I remember loving that show, and just the guests that would, if I remember right, every week there would be a guest that would show up at the very beginning of the show and die.
Right.
And William Shatner was one of them.
Of course.
Because it was Paramount, probably why he agreed to do that. And it was really funny.
I loved how they tried to do the freeze frames at every ending of the show. It's like,
oh, at the end when they tell the joke, they stop.
Yeah. And there was the tall guy whose head was never in the frame. Like, hey, you got something on your mouth right there. A whole banana would hit the desk.
Pat, we've got to end the broadcast tonight with a freeze frame. We got to end it with
We'll do
one.
Absolutely. Well, as we're talking about Police Squad, I gotta play this one.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. T.J. Hooker, starring William Shatner, aired from 1982 to 85 with a total of 91 episodes. At times, the show featured a number of past Star Trek alumni, including one that was a little popular. Let's begin with Vic Tayback. Known for his role as Mel on Alice, he played the mob boss Krakow in the 68 Trek episode A Piece of the Action. Ike Eisenman, known for the Disney film Escape from Witch Mountain, including many 70s TV show, was also a guest star. Trekkers remember him as the doomed cadet in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. The Tony-nominated Robert Hooks has appeared in many Broadway productions, as well as T.J. Hooker. He played the corrupt Admiral Morrow in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Gary Lockwood was also a guest star. Also known as astronaut Frank Poole from 2001 A Space Odyssey, he was in one of my favorite Star Trek episodes titled Where No Man Has Gone Before. Jonathan Goldsmith had a very brief appearance as a crewman in the original series episode The Corbomite Maneuver. Besides many classic TV appearances, he also appeared in multiple episodes of T.J. Hooker. But today, he's simply known as the most interesting man in the world. William Shatner's then-wife Marcy Lafferty appeared on Hooker and also joined her husband on the bridge of the Enterprise in Star Trek The Motion Picture. But by far the most prominent guest star had to be Leonard Nimoy. In this episode, his character says the line, "I owe you one, Hooker." Then Shatner serves up a Trekkie treat with the line, "I remember saying that same thing to you 17 years ago," referring to the classic Star Trek episode, The Apple.
And I'm just so stoked that I have the most interesting man in the world. That is right below me. He's right here. You see? Dos Equis. You're a walking Dos Equis commercial, Barry.
A toast. Sure. Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
Well.
You're killing me here. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Softly. So let's see what we got here with some comments that my buddy Dave has been starring for me. Just going to hit one. Let's see what it says. We had a black and white TV. TV was years later before I saw it in color. When I did see it in color, I was freaked out, especially Spock in color. Yeah, Mark, I mean, he was green, right? Who would have known? You didn't really catch that so much. To me, it was about the backgrounds, the sets, the purple, the green, the blue. I was so taken by that, and still am to this day. I'll watch it and be like totally impressed with.
And I rediscovered it all over again in 4K Blu-ray, because when you see the episodes remastered, the green in Nimoy's face is even more prominent, along with his stubble and their nose hair. You could see everything in those HD episodes. It was like seeing it all over again, but it was really clear and something to see.
I remember the Spock stubble. I do. That's just wrong. He's got a mustache.
Right.
and his teeth are all stained from chain smoking, too. It's like, what's the deal there?
Right. Sometimes things are a little too clear when you remaster them. You know, there's a reason we watch things on picture tube television in the 70s. You couldn't quite see it as clear as that. So, yeah.
No, but what a great show. What a great show. It gave us so many wonderful memories. Great stars, great guest stars, episodes that, like me, I could recite The Squire of Gothas from beginning to end, word for word. The writing, everything is just incredible. And again, like you guys, I'm sure you would agree that let's hope that Gene Roddenberry's vision for the future is taking shape right now, right? Maybe this is Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the chance.
I think
At
that's why that show was so popular, right? Beyond everything else, and why it is, the most popular franchise in entertainment history is because of Gene Roddenberry and that message of hope.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you, Pat. You turn on the news these days, and you just gotta hope that that there are better days ahead, and that our leaders, all of them across the world, can capture just a little bit of that Roddenberry optimism.
Well, the technology sure is steaming right along. Not too long ago, we have a local giant museum that is an arm of the Smithsonian in Cartersville near my radio station called the Tellus. And they had an exhibit of how science fiction influenced science fact. And we displayed a flip open communicator beside a flip open phone. We would compare all these things. We had a computer, an Apple computer, sitting beside HAL 9000's Eye from 2001. So we've certainly, Star Trek has certainly predicted a lot of the things, at least technology, to come along, which is great. And who would have thought that just a few scant years ago, and I reported it on the radio the day, the week it happened, we landed a probe on a comet at one point. And I'm like, this is Star Trek Space 1999 stuff that I always dreamed about as a kid. I never thought it would see half of this come to fruition, but it has. It really has.
Yeah. Let's just pray our focus goes back to positive steps like that, with our technology, with our neighbors that are together with us on this one planet, this one family that Gene Roddenberry so clearly had envisioned with the crew of the Enterprise. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up, guys. I want to thank you both for being on this with me. You're titans, both of you. Dave, you have a few fans. Barry, I never met you before in my entire life. He's got a phaser and he knows how to use it. Folks, you got to tune into BK on the air. Barry, tell them where we can find you.
Oh, wow. Saturdays, 10 a.m. till noon. It's BK on the air. That's my live radio show at WBHF. You can stream it at WBHFradio.org if you're out of the local listening area, which a lot of people are. You can also download the free TuneIn app or Radio Garden and hear me on either app live from 10 till noon Eastern. And as you said earlier on the program, I do take it after I do the show on Saturday. I turn it into a podcast and take the local commercials out and put a little spin on it and a little George Lucas special edition CGI on it there and make it sparkly and shinier than it was on the air. And you get to hear it. Check out YouTube, SoundCloud, Anchor, and Spotify. Just search for BK on the Air podcast and you'll find it out there and be able to hear it. And I'd appreciate everyone that did it, liked and subscribed.
Absolutely. And you folks, you go there because these guys are pros. Alan Sanders and Barry and Walt Murray, when he's in, they just nail it every time. It's just true. And then there's this guy, Dave Sundstrom. I don't know where he came from, but I thank my lucky stars every day that he somehow reached out to me. Both of you guys, just out of the blue, reached out to me, and we've become friends for life. And it's so amazing that can happen. Optimism is everything, right, guys?
Things happen for a reason. I want to thank you two guys. Pat, thank you for having me on tonight for Star Trek. I love it. Dave, thank you for the shout outs on your show about my show. I love sharing all our social media stuff and being social retro pals. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming in on the chat. We saw you. I see you. And I'm just so excited to talk to these guys about this that I hadn't really jumped over there as much as I would like to. But, of course, you guys can leave comments on the replay. I will respond to every single one of them. You know me, Pat McCormick, Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. And with that, we're going to go Police Squad ending now. Ready? So what do you say, guys? I gotta get out here. I gotta end the podcast. Hold on. Stay just like that. Hold on. Commodore Decker. That was the end of it, right? End broadcast.